Hello and welcome to our accessibility workshop. We made it to level 2, Style Strategist. We're also super honored to have Dr. Anna Dunn Dock with us to teach us more about styles and word and then answer our many questions. So thank you so much, Dr. Dunn, for being here and joining us, and I'll pass it over to you to jump right in.
Great. Well, thanks for having me, and good afternoon or good morning, good evening, no matter where you're at. This week I'm in Denver, Colorado, so it's not quite, well, it's just at 11. So I hope you all are having a great day. If you joined us the previous week, you have learned a little bit about creating a template as well as Microsoft Word and the templates of Microsoft Word, as well as creating some styles. And in this session, we're going to take it a little bit further and explore how to navigate the style gallery, how to create new styles, and then we'll also, I'll show you how to embed it in a table of contents using some custom styles. And I was just telling the team earlier that it takes some practice, and I'll try to allow some extra time today for you to try on your own and take questions as you do those practice activities. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Microsoft Word, and I'll share my screen and we'll get right started. So from last week, we talked about creating new templates, and to just refresh, if you do a new document, you will see those templates up at the top, or you can go to your personal folder and locate all of the templates that you have saved within your Microsoft Word directory. And that can be found under Office Documents, Custom Templates, under My Documents, Custom Templates. We talked about that last week, so if you need a refresher on Office templates, please use that previous video to get caught up to speed. I always recommend using one of the templates that you've created, so when you save these styles, they all go with that particular template to it. All right, upstairs on the ribbon bar, we're on the Home ribbon, and in the middle of the screen, you'll see Styles. And this is where we were last week. We talked about modifying styles. And so I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into the style gallery because this is truly the heart of accessibility. So I was just talking about the style menu, which is found on the Home ribbon bar. And we discussed removing title and subtitle out. Now, we also talked about modifying the existing headers by right-clicking. I'm going to select heading 1 and select Modify. So you can modify any existing headers by selecting the Modify tool, and then you can choose what sort of font you would like that heading 1 to be. There are some formatting options, for example, bold, italic, underline. There are some colors that you can choose from for your font styles. And then at the very bottom left-hand corner of your screen, there's a Format tab. And that Format tab allows you to do some additional things, such as change the paragraph, your tabs. You could apply a border. You could even change the language if you wanted to. Has a list and numbering, shortcut keys, and some text effects. Each of those can be opened up. So under font, you can make this style maybe all caps. For heading 1, you could add superscript or subscript. All of the formatting options are found here. Also note that there's an advanced window as well that you can choose different character spacing, which is what they call this kerning, or line spacing in between each letter. And then also other types of features, including number spacing and some stylistic sets that sometimes are nice to use. So all of this just takes a little bit of experimentation to get your styles set up to be what you want them to be. You can select OK here, and then you can go back to the Format menu at the bottom left corner again, and you can go to the Paragraph tab, for example, and do the same thing here. There's different formatting options that you can set in indentation, spacing, This one happens to have spacing before the line at 18 and then after at 4 points. So if you didn't want that, you could reduce it. And this will only apply to heading 1 style because that is what I'm modifying, only the heading 1 style. So then when you're done at the very bottom, if you're using an existing template that you've already created, you can select new documents based on this template and it will update the template for you, which is a nice feature. If not, you can just not select it. It would just be for this document only. So just a note of that. I'm going to choose OK. Now, also under the styles pane in the middle of the ribbon, you can add a new style, one that doesn't not exist right now. And this works great if your college, like if Baker has a branding guide, which we do, you could create a style that matches the branding guide. So we can select create a style. Again, I'm on the ribbon under the style menu, create a style. And I'm going to give this a name of Baker University header. Then I can also just choose to modify it right here. And it opens up the same style formatting menu bar as I had before. So let's have some fun with this one. I'm going to choose some formatting here. We'll choose a font that I don't use very often. Used to be a font of the month for me. I have a font of the month club. This month it's Palantino. Gadaji is a fun one. I've used it before, but accessible fonts are fonts that are easy to read on a screen, not for print, but only for web-based practices. They do not have a letter that curves at the end or the top of it, making it hard to see. Sometimes they call that bleeding when the letters bleed from one to the next. We can bold this. You can also, if you want to experiment, you can go down to the format option, and I'm going to choose border for this. We'll make a box border around it. We'll change our width a little bit. All right, and then I can automatically update this if I already had a Baker University header. I don't, so that won't do much for us. And I could also have that same option of updating it on this template. So every time I use this template, I'll now have a Baker University header applied to it. You could go ahead and refine as many of those format options you wanted for this particular style. And when you're all done, you just select OK. Now I've created this new style that's got kind of an obnoxious box around it, but I'm just going to do some text up here. And so this style now has a unique feel to it. It has bold font, has a special font, and I've also applied a border around it to apply that style. So that is one way that you can add a style into your style gallery. Now you can have up to 799 styles. Don't ask me how I know that, but you can definitely have a lot of styles that you can create here in format. Notice by choosing the style gallery, you'll see Baker University header is listed in my commonly used styles. And if I hover over some of the other styles, I can see how that may appear in my document just by hovering over it. So I'm going to pause right now and allow you an opportunity to create a new style. And after you create a new style and give it a name, just recapping here, select modify and apply a new formatting style to the one that you're going to be creating. So I'll just pause and allow you an opportunity to do that. And as you have questions, so colors for sure are definitely important, and you want to have good contrast of colors. Um, dark fonts seem to do best for screen readers. A white font on dark backgrounds is not a good contrast. So I always recommend that you use blacks or blues. Even greens can be okay, but faint colors or pastel colors can be very difficult. Also, try to always avoid white font on the top of any sort of colored background. I see that quite a bit in different presentations, and that's not a good practice. There is some web links for color palettes and font. Let me grab those real quick. It is actually through the Department of Homeland Security, if you'll believe that. The Department of Homeland Security houses the Department of Accessibility. So all of the training is offered through Homeland Security, and they have a variety of great resources through WebAIM that I have used throughout the years. So in addition, if you teach in a face-to-face classroom, this website that I'm sharing also has a resource that you can print, and we have placed them throughout Oklahoma, but you can print these signs on a whiteboard, which indicates how large you need to write on the whiteboard to be accessible. So there are some good resources there as well. It also talks a little bit about color blindness and being conscious of that. I always like to share the story while you guys are practicing. I'm just going to ramble, but this story always hits home to me. When I was at Illinois at a university there was a student that was waiting for a faculty member outside of the office during office hours. And I came up to the student. I said, "Are you looking for someone?" And they said, yes, they were looking for their teacher, and they were supposed to be there during scheduled office hours. And I looked at the chart, and I indicated to the student, well, I said, this is highlighted in red, which means that they're in a different building for today. And the student was colorblind, so there was no way that they knew that that was highlighted in red. And they had been sitting there for over an hour waiting for their instructor. So it just kind of goes to show, like, those little things that we don't notice. Someone that is colorblind, they didn't have any idea because the highlighting and the font was a different color. Um, they couldn't distinguish between the different colors. So just small things like that that we take advantage of sometimes. So I think of that story often when I'm explaining font colors and font sizes. So if you're ever unsure, the WebAIM has, I think, some more of the tremendous resources. How's everyone doing with their styles? And I'll put the Homeland Security link in here too if you're interested in doing their free training. You to get a badge. It is free. It's all about Section 508 and 508 refresh. There's several trainings there that you can do. And if you choose software for your schools, for your school, then this is also really good training because it shows you how to choose the most accessible software. Could be back to my Word document, hopefully. Okay, so from that style menu, you were able to create a new style, I hope. And if you've applied it, you can also clear the same formatting. If you made a mistake and you didn't want to apply that style, there is a clear formatting option right underneath the create style option that allows you to kind of undo what you just did and go fix that style again. So if you get stuck, that is really the best way to do it, I feel. Then that third option under the style gallery that we haven't yet spoken about is apply styles. And this is a nice feature. If you select that, now mine is not docked, mine is just kind of floating. You can float yours as well. If it's docked over to the right or to the left, you can drag it around on your screen, which is nice. But if you select the little styles, which is the two A's icon, it's going to show you all the styles that you have in your document. And you can see there's the Baker University header that I made and all the other styles that I have too. Sometimes this is nice because if you just hover over it, it will show you all of the styles that have been applied without you having to go to modify to look. You can just get a quick glance to see, okay, my heading 1 style is all of these elements. And often I like to look at this just to make sure that I have it formatted correctly. And you can just hover over each of those to get a quick view. You can also at the bottom show preview, and by doing that, then you can actually see what they look like as well. So there's some options. At the very bottom to apply those styles, this is another shortcut. You can add a new style. You can do a style inspector, which is kind of a neat tool. This little inspector is new in Microsoft Word, the new versions of Microsoft Word, but this allows you to take a look to see if you want to clear specific things, like if you want to change the level formatting, you can change that by clearing out that character style, or you can change the normal paragraph style. You can clear that out too, or make a new style. So the style inspector just kind of takes a deeper dive to modify your styles. This is a new tool. We haven't had that before, so that's kind of a newer tool for me. Does everyone see the list of all of their styles, and have you been successful at creating at least one new style? That's our goal. All right, are we ready to move on to the next step? I wanted to share with you how this impacts a table of contents, which I think is very important. And then we'll give you some time after this next step to do some more practicing. Does that sound okay? All right. The table of contents is a feature that Microsoft Word offers based on headings and styles. It's very common in our fields, in our practice, to be using table of contents. It's not the only thing that is pulled in automatically through Microsoft Word, but it is one of the elements we probably use the most often is a table of contents. So in order to have a table of contents, you definitely need some text on the page that references some headers at some point. So I only have one line of text here, and it's the Baker University header that I have created. But we'll pretend that this document has some other text in there with additional headers, and then you're ready to add a table of contents, which normally goes on the home page or the front page of your document. And we can do that by just putting our cursor at the very top of the page, holding Control key down and pressing Enter will create a new page for us. So Control Enter will allow us to do that. So this is where I'd want to put my table of contents, which is going to be on the front home page, the blank page. So let's do that by going to References. And at the very far left-hand side of your screen, you'll have a table of contents menu. And in that table of contents, it's going to kind of show you some automatic tables that are already been pegged there. And in my settings, I have field codes turned on, and you may too. If you were at last week's training, you may see some foreign text there that looks kind of silly. That's the field codes. That's not actually the text that will be displayed. So, all right. At the very bottom, I'm going to select a custom table of contents rather than just a built-in one. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to show you that you can apply different heading styles in the table of contents. So for right now, by default, all of us should have heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3 by default. That is Microsoft Word's, favorite item there. It's always going to default to that. But we could use our own headers that we've just created, our own styles that we've just created. And we can do that by selecting a couple of options. First, let me cancel this. First, let's go to Options, which is at the very bottom of this dialog box. And here you will see all of your headers. Now, you may have to look for the vertical scroll bar so you can scroll down to see them all, but all of the styles that you have created should be here within your template. You'll have to kind of scroll down so you can see them, unless your menu is larger, but mine is not, so I'm having to scroll. The table of contents level is listed. So heading 1 is listed at heading 1 here at table of contents level 1. Heading 2 is level 2, and then heading 3, level 3. If we wanted our Baker University header to also appear in our table of contents, we would want to put a level in there. So I'm going to put 1 in there. So that way it'll show up as a main category or a main header. You can do this with all of the styles that you have created. You could go through the list and change all of the levels that you want them to be. Remember, we talked about nested um, headings last week and how we only really want one heading 1, and then heading 2, and then heading 3, and so forth. So following those rules, you can continue down the list and mark each of the different levels on your table of contents. And then choose OK, and you'll notice that it will go ahead and update with that Baker University header being listed into my table of contents. Now you can also change this as well. You can show the page numbers if you want, or right align the page numbers. There's different tab leaders, of course. Um, and then they have formats as well. All of these are accessible except modern. Modern is not accessible, but all of the other formats are accessible. So you could do any of those, or you could just use the one from template, the one that we're using here. Right? And then I'm going to choose OK. And there is my heading 1 listed right there for my table of contents. But that is my Baker University style, not heading 1, but my Baker University style that I created. And now I have added it as a table of contents item. So if I were going to go down and, let's say, add more to this, I'm going to force it on another page. I'm going to do a Control Enter. If I need to update that table of contents, as you might know, if you right click on that and choose to update the field, that will also ask you if you want to update just the page numbers or the entire table. I always choose the bottom, select OK, and now my number will change to a 3 because I forced it. That's a nice little feature. This is also accessible because these can serve as hyperlinks. Screen readers recognize table of contents. They love table of contents, extremely accessible. I always, always, always recommend trying to put a table of contents in all of your Word documents that you create, because a user can navigate to your different styles or headers depending on how you've allocated them, by using shortcut keys like control clicking to go to a link. Or if this were a PDF, they would just click and it would open up that link for them in a PDF. So best practice to always use table of contents in all of your Microsoft Word documents. Any questions about table of contents and styles that I can help with? It will read it at a different volume, sometimes a different tone, because it's going to recognize that it is a level or a chapter that they can navigate to. So there's emphasis on that. It will read what the header is. So it would say Baker University Accessibility Training. And then as they tell it either with a voice command or a shortcut key, it will take them to that location in the document. So very important, and definitely recommend doing table of contents. Good question. Anything that's longer than 2 pages, I always apply a table of contents to. So if it's more than 2 pages, table of contents. And this can also work for documents that are like course catalogs that have columns built into them. That can also help a user navigate into a column too. If you have a style applied into columns, think about the ease of use for a student for that too, because some of the columns can get little small in the text size and hard to find things. So having it a table of contents for documents like course catalogs, I've seen that be extremely helpful. Yes, rubrics. Yeah, be great for a rubric. Yep. This is a little off topic, but I did get an email I wanted to be sure I answered. We talked about images last week, and somebody asked about accessible images, and I didn't mention this little feature. I always assume people know about it, but I'm realizing that it's kind of a thing a lot of people don't know. It's easy. If you just put your cursor anywhere in your document right now, just put your cursor somewhere and hold down your Windows key on your keyboard and press the period. This is what we call the emoji library. If you've ever seen an emoji library before in Windows, this is what it is. But you can do this in anything. When you save a file, when you are on the internet, Windows period works everywhere. It's not just in Word, it's global. But there's metadata that's already been established to these things, so they're already accessible. But if you need a little icon and you're looking for something, here's the ones that I use most often in my gallery that you can see pulled up. So if you want a folder icon, I can just click that little folder icon and a screen reader will recognize that and already has the alt text built in. So I was going to mention that last week and I had forgotten, so I wanted to share it with you. There's also some GIFs, some special symbols, and then at the top you can go through and look at different emojis. There's all kinds of things there you can search through and click on. I don't know if it works on a Mac. So if you're on a Mac, you'll have to tell me if it's probably Mac period, maybe. I don't know. There's probably a way you can open it for a Mac, but Windows period, these are all already pre-made accessible, and you can do it in anything. It doesn't have to be in Word. It works everywhere globally. So there's a little tip. Did anybody know that? Is that some? Okay, good. Good. I hope that's new. Yeah, it's a nice feature when you're saving files. Sometimes I've been saving with icons or things, and I just use that little Windows period and kind of has a little extra flair to it, I guess. But great for people that are low vision that need, maybe a visual that can find a file type quickly. That works really well. Then you don't have to worry about alt text. Yeah, table of contents, something I definitely do quite often. And under that feature too, when you do a custom table of contents, we went to options, but under modify, you can save this as your own formatting. You can modify this and save it as, instead of TOC1, you could save it as like Baker TOC. So that way, every time you open your template, you don't have to redo all the formatting of it. So that's nice too. Yeah, here at the Regents, I've helped our team do some things like this too, where they had some headings, but they didn't have them applied to the table. So we just linked them and it did all the documents at one time. We batched it and it was amazing. So anything we can do to save a little bit of time is always very helpful. Great question. So instead of doing it that way, again, I don't use any of these. The only thing that I use to make it accessible is if you want a color fill like that, to go and make a new style. And you could call it banner. And you can modify it. As the style, the screen reader will recognize it as a style and the color will not be denoted on a screen reader if it's a style. But if you just use it up here on the formatting toolbar, that's not accessible. It's better to make it as a style so the screen reader recognizes it as such. Under format, it's under border, shading, and then your fill, whatever high contrast fill you want. Apply, and then okay, and okay, and there's our new style. And then that way it becomes part of the style gallery and not something that you've done on the formatting toolbar, which disassociates accessibility to it. So if it's a style, if it has a color on there, the more modern screen readers recognize it as a style and will disassociate the color to it if it's a style. But if it's part of a style, then it cannot indicate, doesn't have a way to do that. Yeah, and I like NVDA Access. If anyone wants to download that, it's free, and you can read the document to see how it works from a style to not using a style. That's the best way to try it. Good question. Yeah, so WebAIM does not recognize white or light font on dark because the contrast can be difficult to read to some. I think you're just going to have to find a happy balance, but I try not to use white font on dark colors very often. Um, that's just a personal preference, and from research, it just indicates that white on dark does not tend to do so well. If it's part of a style, however, remember you can disassociate that, and it wouldn't necessarily matter if it was a style. There are some, light colors. The WebAIM has a complete list of the hexadecimal colors. I put those in the chat, but you could use any of those hexadecimal colors that are lighter. Um, there's a cream base, I think, that works well for high contrast. There's one that's got some pink and orange tones to it that's better for persons with that have low vision or are colorblind. But white on dark is often can be very difficult for some. But again, if you put it into a style, then that kind of sets it apart for accessibility. Then people can choose. Users can have the choice of choosing how they prefer to see it. Some may prefer it, some may not. And that's the beauty of the style. The screen readers will allow them the choice of determining how they want it to be displayed or read back. Offers the shortcut Control F to view your header list. I do not use that feature, but that is an option. If you are familiar with shortcut keys and want to um, use that as a shortcut to locate your headers, that is a great suggestion. Control F over on the far left. If you choose headings, you can create an interactive outline of your document. It's not something I use. If I use the table of contents, my table of contents serves as my kind of shortcut navigation tool, but definitely an option there in Word that you can use. Very similar to a screen reader. Their navigation system looks very similar to that, and they would have all the headings listed that they can click and navigate around. There's lots of different shortcuts that you can apply. It takes a little bit of time, but I think before long, those templates can be so helpful. And you can share those, but you can put them out in a Creative Commons. I'm at an open educational resource conference this week called Open Ed, and they've talked about sharing Microsoft templates in OER. So that's something that I think could be very valuable. But for Baker to have your own templates that are branded with our branding guide, I think that would be very good. 12 is great practice. Yes, font size 12 is great practice for regular documents. Yes. Screen readers, you have so many options with screen readers now that you can enlarge. The users have the choice of enlarging the font screen size. So really, size 12 is great. And I just ordered or planning on ordering the new Amazon Kindle Remarkable. And if you haven't seen that, it also has a lot of great accessibility features in it. Yes, Outlook has those same accessible features as well. All Microsoft, the whole Microsoft suite, everything I've just shared with you with styles and from last week is available in every software. So Word, Excel, Access, PowerPoint, you name it. Um, it's the same thing for all of them. And you can make templates for every single Office application. You can have Outlook templates and PowerPoint templates, all of it all works the same. So once you learn it one place, you can usually pick it up at each of the other Office applications that you use. Now, the web versions of Microsoft sometimes I have found, are limited with their tools. You can't do as many features with the web version as you can the desktop version. I find that the desktop version is still more accessible than the web version at this time. Maybe that will change, but I have not found some of the same features in the web version. Yeah, I love working with Moodle. Actually, out of all the LMSs I've worked with, and there's been dozens, Moodle, I find it easier to make things accessible in than some other tools. And you might be familiar with Blackboard Ally, ALLY. The reason they call it that is the word accessible has 11 characters, by the way. That's why it's called A11Y for accessibility. Didn't know if you knew that. But I have a feeling from what the research I've been reading that Moodle is coming out with kind of their own little plugin that's kind of similar to that. So be interesting to see. My favorite web-based tools. Oh, there's so many that I use. Let me think. As far as graphics or as far as web processing, word processing, is there a category? Because I have a lot of web-based tools that I use. Oh, for presentations. So Canva works pretty well. I've been using Canva a lot for presentations online, and there are some accessibility um, tools for that. There's another one that I use quite often too. Civic Plus is great for graphics. I use Civic Plus a lot. A lot of those is a lot of the stuff on Civic Plus is already built for accessibility, so I love it. Prezi is not great for accessibility. Do not recommend Prezi at all. But Canva is really good. I find that Canva is probably one of the better ones out there. Both. I do pay for the pro version personally. It's not terribly expensive, but it's worth it to me to have it. Now, where I'm at, we are not allowed to use Canva for graphics because we have our state communication department that we have to have everything kind of channeled through that. But for presentations that I do, I use Canva for that, and I pay. And I think it's even cheaper if you're a student or an educator. I think there's like a more affordable version because I think mine's only like $12 a month. It's not very expensive at all. Definitely worth it as much as I use it. Yep, I'm pretty plain. I usually when I find something that works, I like to stick with it, and those are some standards that I've used for a long time. So it's probably what I'd recommend. And Civic Plus is great, big plugin for them. I've also used a lot of AI for generative AI image development too. There's quite a few out there that you can use for that too to develop some graphics. Yeah, Nearpod, I've used Nearpod too. Some of those vendors, well, all of them, do not receive federal funding, so they do not have to be compliant with WCAG or accessibility laws. They should because they cater to audiences that have to. But predominantly since 508 refresh in 2017, there really hasn't been a lot of focus on that. It's expensive to make tools accessible, and their resources are tied up in other priorities. But now with the new guidelines coming down, I think some vendors are definitely trying harder at being more accessible, but legally they don't have to. So there are some pressures on some, but certainly not all.
That I just want to say thank you all for coming. Thank you, Dr. Dunn, for presenting and sharing your expertise and knowledge. This has been super great. I hope you guys got some good work done and some questions answered and all that stuff. Don't forget, we have our Baker Innovated Conference. We have a great group of Baker University presenters and then a wonderful group of panelists from all across the nation, New York to Alaska. So we're covered here. And then we also have our next workshop, and Dr. Gentry will be leading that. We'll be talking about tables and values. So again, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you, Dr. Dunn, for your great information, and I hope you all have a good rest of your day.